Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel BBTechHub. So today I'm going to discuss about the network address of class B and class A IP addresses. But before going that, I want to give you some more information about some basic concept of IP address. See, every IP address is consist of two things. One is the एवरी आईपी एड्रेस कोई भी आईपी एड्रेस उसमें दो चीज होता है वन इज कॉल्ड द नेटवर्क पार्ट अनदर इज कॉल्ड द होस्ट पार्ट as we know out of 5 classes only 3 classes are used for networking. Yes, class A, class B and class C. If you can see in the class A, every IP address has first octet is network. Now, second octet is host, third octet is host, and fourth octet is host. That means if you can see in class A, this 8-bit is reserved for network bit and 24-bit is reserved for the host bit. In case of class B, you can see the 2 octets are network and 2 octets are host. That means 16 bits is for network and again 16 bits for host. When we go to the class C, we see that 3 octet are for network and 1 octet is for host. That means what happens? Here 24-bit is for network and only 8-bit is for host. Same thing we can describe in two ways. हम दो तरीके से explain कर सकते हैं. कैसे कर सकते हैं? आप देखो very clearly how I am doing. If I go for the network octet, in case of class A, you see the 1 octet is reserved for network. Yes or no? If I go for class B, 2 octet is reserved for network purpose. And if I go for class C, 3 octet is reserved for network purpose. Same thing I say in bit format. So network bits, how many? For class A, 8-bit is reserved for network. For class B, 16-bit is reserved for network. And if I go for class C, 24-bit is reserved for class C. Same way, if I find the host octet, so you can see in case of class A, the host octet is 3. For class B, host octet is 2. And for the class C, host octet is 1. Same thing in the bit format, then host bits is nothing but you can say over here 24. Here is class B for 16 and for class C is 8. Same thing. We are describing as nothing but in the octet format. Sometimes I'm expressing in octet format and same thing I'm expressing in bit format. Why? There are several calculations where we need in the octet format and there are several calculations where we need as a bit format. Okay. So you have to remember this thing very carefully. In case of class A, class B and class C, how many octets are reserved for network and how many octets are reserved for host. Okay. Now, I am again proceeding for finding the network address of class B and class A. So, the previous video, I described what is NID. NID is nothing but an IP address. Yes. And this IP address का use क्या है? This IP address is identify the network. Okay. Because unless until identify the network, we cannot establish the communication between the host. Because if you feel all hosts are having the same network, then switch is enough to establish the communication. But if we find the NID of host is different, then we have to bring the router in picture and we have to configure the routing for that. Okay. So when we go for finding the NID, we have some basic concept, what I discussed in the previous video. So here I'm trying to find the NID of class B. Suppose I am having an example, 172.16.1.50. It is a class B IP. Why it is class B? You can see the first octet falls between 128 to 191 range. I discussed in the class section. So whenever it is the class B IP, so we can understand how many octets you see in case of the class B, how many octets are reserved for the network purpose too. So here is also these two are networks. So we cannot change the network octet. And these two my host octet, in this octet we will put 0. And what is the IP? You can see this is nothing but network address of this host. Am I clear? That means this is the host which belong to the network 172.16.0.0. I'm giving you another example. If I go for 172.50.1.10, here is also you see nothing to do, just first check which class it is. So you can see 172 means it is class B. If it is class B, then you can see the first two octets are network which we cannot change. So I will keep it as it is. Now, these are the host part. In the host part, I will put the 0. And this is nothing by my what? Network ID of this host. That means this host belong to this network. Now you see over here, key in case of whether it is class A, whether it is class B, whether it is class C, what to happen whenever we are going to find the network address, we have to keep in mind as per the class, we will not change the network octet. We just put 0 to the host octet and whatever the resultant IP we are getting, that is nothing by network address of that host. Okay, everyone. Now I am giving an example of class A. This is an IP. So you tell me, is it class A because 10? Because the range of, the range of class A is 0 to 127. So 10 is coming within this range. That means it is a class A IP. And now you see over here for the class A, how many octet are reserved for my network? Only one octet. That means this is my network and these three my host. So what we will do? We will not change the network. Keep it as it is. And you put the 0 to the all host octet. So this resultant IP is the NID of this host. Am I clear, everyone? So whenever we are going to find the network address of any class A IP, you just keep the first octet as it is and put zeros to the other three octets, and whatever the resultant IP you are getting, that is the network address of the host. Another example I'm taking, if I'm having an 11.12.13.14 IP. So everybody, as per 11, we can identify it is class A. If it is class A, then it is the network octet. We will keep the network octet as it is. Now these three octet are my host octet. We have to put 0. So 0.0.0. We have given 0 to the every host octet, and this resultant IP is what? This resultant IP is nothing but the network address of whom? Of this host. So everyone, this is the conclusion. If we want to find the network address of any given host, my dear, so what to do? Just what we have to do? We have to for the class A, class B, class C. Find the network octet, keep the network octet as it is and put the zeros to the all host octet and you will get the IP. Whatever the IP you are getting, that is nothing but my network address of that host. Okay. Now another important thing is the broadcast ID. What is broadcast ID? Whenever a host need to send a common message to all hosts in a network, at that moment we need an broadcast ID or broadcast address. And always remember it is also nothing but an IP address, and in the class IPv4, it is also a 32-bit address. Is it clear? So what is broadcast address? It is a 32-bit address used to send a common message to all hosts belong to the same network. Okay, in a network, if a host wish to send a common message to everyone at a time, at that moment, what we have to there is you need an IP address, that is nothing but my broadcast address. And always remember this is the highest IP address of any network. Okay, and all hosts belong to the same network must have the same BID. In a network, all hosts must have the same broadcast address. Is it? So now question, how can I identify a broadcast address? Suppose I'm taking an IP. So again, the same process you have to follow like NID. You have to find the class. You can see this is a class C because the first octet is 192. In the class C, how many octets are reserved for network? The 3 octet are reserved for network. Then which octet is reserved for host? The last octet is reserved for host. In case of NID, हम क्या करते थे? होस्ट ऑक्टेट में 0 देते थे. बट इन केस ऑफ ब्रॉडकास्ट आईडी आपको यहाँ पे क्या पुट करना पड़ेगा? 255. दैट मीन्स 192.168.1.255. Is it clear, everyone? So, how we are finding the broadcast ID? We never, in case of A, in case of B, or in case of C, in 3 cases, what to do? Keep network octet constant. Okay, you keep network octet constant. In the host octet, if you put 0, it becomes NID. In the host octet, if you put 255, it becomes broadcast ID. Okay, so now see over here, if I am having 10.1.1.1, so what happens? What will be the NID for that? It will be 10.0.0.0. And what will be the BID for that? The broadcast ID will be 10.255.255.255. Why? Because in case of NID, I am putting the host octet at 0. And in case of broadcast ID, I am putting 255 for the host octet. Am I clear? And I think next time, if you get an IP address, and very easily you can find the network address and the broadcast address. Okay. Network address is identify the network, and broadcast address is used to send a common message to all hosts belong to the same network. Okay, guys, you can continue the video series. You can see the more about the IP addresses in the next consecutive videos. Okay, in the next video, I'm coming up with the host ID, how to find the valid host addresses from a given network. Okay, thank you.